Star Trek Prodigy, episode 18. Man, this is a crazy episode. I like this episode, and I think this episode's a solid episode, but my biggest problem with this episode is that last week we kind of had a filler episode, and I kind of talked about that last week. But then you get to this one, and it feels so like rushed, and the plot has so much shit going on in it that you're like, crap. They wasted an episode last week when they could have like thinned this one out better. I think with the problem, like this episode, for example, is like, okay. So in this episode, Janeway and Dell end up switching bodies when Zero and Dell try to like make some kind of telepathic connection because of the fact that they're just so sick of not being able to contact the Federation because it would destroy their ship, but they did open up comm links and things like that. So they're trying to figure out how to do that. So they switch bodies, and through that, everyone on the Federation ship realizes shit. Janeway's off and losing her mind. So they're all after her, trying to get her to sickbay and figure out what's going on with her. But then you get to Dell in this episode, who's now Janeway's body, and her spending time on this ship is like, first of all, that should have been just the episode right there. The first half of this should have been like 2 episodes. The first half of this episode should have been Janeway on this ship, and I say that because you see her interact with her own hologram, and that scene is so rushed, and we barely understand all the flashbacks and images that were being shown to us of what their past relationship, her past relationship was with the original crew of the ship, and why her memory got wiped. We barely understand any of that. We don't really get to understand any of that. They just rush past that. Then you have this other part of the episode where Janeway and Dell's body's also talking to the crew, and her trying to understand the crew and what's been going on this whole time, and why certain people have been running, why this has happened, why that's happened, should have been a whole episode of her learning and them explaining details and her trying to fully understand and grasp details. It should have been one episode right there. Then Dell trying to get back to the ship and figure out what's going on with her, and deal with being seen as Janeway. That should have been the second episode. It just feels very rushed and convoluted, and I really am excited for next week's episode. It's the episode right before the season finale, which is cool. You see that giant ship and fleet, Starfleet ships ready to just demolish this ship, which is insane. Who knows what's going to happen? But man, super excited for that. And then you'll see Janeway locked up at the end of the episode, of course. So they're like, at least we got Janeway on our side, but man, they've done such a great job, like creating a conflict within the show that it's just really interesting because they've made just a chase between these ships completely engaging. Like, it's kind of crazy because like people complain that like, oh, Last Jedi is just a big chase scene, but they made it interesting here in this show. Like, I'm hyped for that shit. I was like, man, I love this episode for finally ending that chase, though, because I'm just like, we were getting a little tired of it, but man, gonna be some crazy shit for the next few episodes.